All right, good afternoon to Christine and Anita, who are here joining us from Los Angeles County's Department of Child and Family Services. And they're going to tell us about their reproductive health policy, how they serve expectant and parenting youth, a little bit about their home visiting referral practice, and about how they've been implementing an early infant supplement that was the basis for the expectant parent payment that I talked about a little bit earlier on the presentation. Christine, I'm seeing that your video is a little bit blurry, so you might want to just stop the video and just do the regular portion of the and participate that way. And that'll work. So Christine, I'll have you start. And if you could talk a bit about the approach that Los Angeles County takes to serving expectant and parenting foster youth with your policy and the practices that you've had in place for a while now, that would be great.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Hi, my name is Christine Grush, and I am a manager in the Child Welfare Health Services section of the Department of Children and Family Services. And one of the programs that we oversee are services to expectant and parenting youth. We're not case caring, but we're very involved in terms of making services available to this population. And we've been involved for many years, really, in an expectant and parenting youth work group that we co-chair with Children's Law Center. And it's through this work group that many of the programs that we've developed have come about. One of the things that we're very proud of are the Expectant and Parenting Youth Conferences, which we make available to any of our expectant or parenting youth, including young fathers. And the term conference is perhaps a little bit misleading. It is a specialized meeting that we offer to any of our youth receiving services that are expectant and parenting. And Anita, who's present here with me, is one of the two expectant and parenting youth conference facilitators that we have in LA County. And Anita and her colleague, they cover the entire Los Angeles County area, currently remotely, but pre-pandemic, and we're anticipating post-pandemic times, they travel all over Los Angeles County to facilitate these meetings with our youth. But I'm probably jumping around a little bit. We do have policy that addresses services to our expectant and parenting youth. The primary policy would be our youth reproductive health and pregnancy policy. We also have a policy that's currently being revised, but a services for minor and minor dependent parent policies. And we're finalizing some edits to that policy. Anna, maybe you can ask me some more specific questions.
Yeah, thank you so much, Christine. That's a really good overview that you've got your policy for reproductive health and for expectant and parenting youth, and then you're expanding your policy to kind of distinguish between the services that are available for minors and non-minor dependents. So maybe you could just talk a little bit about how you arrived at that approach. You talked about you're part of a work group, and why did you kind of change this approach? I think in 2016 was when some of these policies first started. So maybe just a little bit more background there.
Well, I think everyone in the work group recognized that the needs of this population are specific. And with all of the challenges that our caseworkers face, it's very hard for them to be specialists in all of the resources that are available to these to this population, in addition to all the things that they know in general or their. So there were a few things that were explored, but eventually this idea of having facilitators who were experts in this area, and they are joined by independent resource specialists who bring a wealth of knowledge about resources available to this population, to our expectant and parenting youth. That's really how it got started. We haven't always overseen, when I say we, I mean our section, the Child Welfare Health Services section, hasn't always overseen these conferences, but we have for a number of years now. And when it first started, it was these meetings would occur on a one-time basis. There was that was full. It was an opportunity to give the parenting or expecting youth referral resources. We found that it wasn't enough. You know, we found that this one just meeting one point in time, it left the youth hanging, and so what we did start to do is we implemented a follow-up meeting, which we would schedule depending on the needs of the youth, and they now occur anywhere between 3 to 6 months intervals after the initial EPY conference. And it is at that point where we check in with the youth. We can make sure that the things that everyone had agreed to accomplish during the EPY initial conference, that everything is being taken care of. And as we know, circumstances for youth change very rapidly. So it's an opportunity to really remain available and to address the needs, whatever they may be at any given moment. So, you know, I am talking about these conferences as one of the things that we are proud of and that we really help to get off the ground, in addition to the resource specialists who were play a very important role. But there are other things that we have put in place. We have an intra-network site, which lists a lot of the resources that are available and policies that are specific to this population. We have that available to our social workers so that they can find resources there. We also implemented, as you indicated, the early infant supplement, which has become the foundation for the new legislation now, which provides a financial stipend to our pregnant female youth to prepare for the birth of the baby. So we had started that in Los Angeles County after our child advocates approached the director at the time, and he asked if the director would be willing to consider providing the benefit to youth, because it had come to their attention that youth really struggle putting things in place so that they would be adequately prepared by the time the infant. And what else can I mention?
Well, I think you've mentioned a lot. So you've talked about your EPY conferences and sort of doing follow-up meetings to see how some of that Referral went and support young people with all of those different follow-ups that happen when they're expecting or when they're a parent, right? It's a lot to manage. And I know Anita is here with us. So Anita, I know if you want to introduce yourself and just maybe talk about your role and add on to anything that Christine has said so far about the services that you provide to expectant and parenting foster youth.
Sure. My name's Anita Melendez, and I'm one of the 2 EPY facilitators for LA County. And listening to Christine, so many things came to mind. Yes, there's just 2 of us, so we are a small little unit, so to speak, with Christine as our supervisor and our other bosses. But with the resource specialists, we really are like a little family. We've all been working together now for several years, so we're like a little family that the youth have really learned they can count on, and that we've been constant for several years. So they have sometimes had several social workers change over the time, but I'm still, for example, their facilitator, and they still have the same resource specialist. We always try to keep the team intact. So if my coworker Polly is the facilitator, he'll be the facilitator for all the follow-ups, so unless there's some, something out of the ordinary. But the youth then know that they can really count on us, because we actively do check in with them, and we make sure that everything we agreed to do or anybody agreed to do is taken care of through, our checking in. Sometimes we'll just schedule even email check-ins before the follow-up, because a lot can happen in 4 or 5 months and their lives change. And sometimes they may lose, they may have to change a placement. They may lose their phone, no longer have access or a way to reach out to us or to reach their services that we've linked them to. But so those are some of the challenges, and sometimes leaving LA County, finding resources when they're in a different county becomes a challenge. We try to be as experts as we can in, the services that are within our county. But a lot of our youth live out of state, and so we have to research what's available to them in other states and other counties. So that sometimes can be challenging, but we're up for the task. I think what I really appreciate about the EPY conferences is that they're very strength-based, and it is a team approach. And the youth, I think, feel we kind of run it informally. It's not a serious, I'm not saying that other meetings are serious, but sometimes the youth will think of other meetings as ones where they're being brought together because they did something wrong, maybe, or we're going to address a placement disruption. And this meeting we tell them it's voluntary. It's really about them. It's their meeting, and that we're here to support them in their new role, but addressing any challenges that they might have, because we want to see them succeed. And I think what's also important is that in the beginning, we did a lot of time going out to our regional offices to let staff know. So we would present at our general staff meetings at each office. So then staff knew that they could reach out to us, and that we're there to help rather than be another task for them to do, because we do develop a plan during the EPY conference, and the plan isn't just about, hey, social worker, you have to do all of this. It might be I'm following up on something. It might be, most of the time, a lot of things that the resource specialist is linking them to, like the home visitation programs. It might be the resource specialist, it might be the social worker, but there's a lot of people on the team, and that are resolving the issues and following up on all the plan items. So yeah.
Great. Well, and on that note, with home visiting, can you just give us a little insight as to how that referral process goes, since part of the presentation today has been about statewide home visiting referral policy and practice, but Can you just give us a little bit of how that's been going and things that you've learned along the way in making referrals to home visiting programs?
Yes, we have gotten to know personally many contacts with the home visiting program. So, for example, like the Nurse Family Partnership, that is our go-to first home visitation program that we like to link our youth to, if possible. So we have a direct contact with the Nurse Family Partnership program that we are able to send the referral to, follow up with, make sure it got assigned, and then if it's assigned, who's the nurse, relay that information to the youth. Sometimes the nurses, they also know that they can reach out to my colleague Polly or myself, and that we will link them to the youth if they're not successful, because as I said, sometimes the youth have a new phone number or they've moved. So we're the middle person. We really have tried to make everybody know, all the programs know, if they're having any difficulty reaching our youth, that they can reach out to us and we will do our best to help reconnect them. So we love to use Nurse Family Partnership whenever possible as our first home visitation program to go to. But because of the time frames, we have to refer before 28 weeks or maybe 26, and we get to slip in until 28. We have other youth that maybe are further along by the time we become aware, or we also have conferences for youth that are already parenting. And so there's other programs that we like to refer to as well. There's partnerships for families. There's through the home visitation referral, there's also Healthy Families of America, Parents as Teachers. There's so many different programs available, which is amazing and awesome when we have a youth in LA County that we can refer. And that's where, when they're somewhere else, we have to do a little digging to find something that is hopefully similar. So there's lots of great programs that we like, and they're voluntary. We let the youth know that they're voluntary as well. And yeah, I think we're pretty good at also selling the programs and the benefits of the programs. For example, the Nurse Family Partnership, we like to tell them that of course it's voluntary and that they can have their own personal professional available to support them and answer questions, and that if they're doubting whether they want to stay with the program, I like to encourage them to at least wait until they have experienced having their own nurse or extra support person from one of the other programs, until they have experience having the baby. Because when they have the baby, life is going to be different. They're going to have all kinds of questions. They're going to wonder, for example, we try to joke about it with them. We'll say, you're going to change a diaper and you're going to wonder, is green poop normal? And you can call your nurse or talk to your nurse and ask your nurse those questions. There's so many things that come up that you just don't know the answer to when you're a new parent. So and I love also that we also do these conferences for expectant fathers. So we did a lot of reaching out to the regions, and we have a lot of dads that have participated in our conferences now. And it's really exciting to see them interested and to see them excited about being able to offer things and resources to their new family, and have extra support for themselves as well. I think that's it.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you, Anita. And I guess just to sort of wrap up the conversation here, Christine and then Anita, if there's any kind of outcomes or results that you'd like to highlight, or any challenges that you've been wanting kind of overcoming that you would just kind of offer up to the audience here, just share any kind of final thoughts for the counties listening in, and anything you'd like them to know. And Christine, if you want to start, yeah, that'd be great.
Sure, sure. You know, the any research quote unquote that's been done, we've had a few qualitative reviews done of the EPY conferences, and we find that the youth pretty unanimously find the conferences very supportive and helpful. And as Anita had indicated, it means so much to them to have the consistency of the facilitators and resource specialists that they really develop a relationship with. You know, we could tell stories, and maybe Anita can think of a youth in particular that have a successful outcome. I'm sure we've had many examples, but Anita, why don't you jump in and tell us about somebody that may come to mind?
Oh boy, there's so many situations. Successful stories. We've had a lot of several of our youth who fortunately have graduated high school and have invited us to attend their graduations, and then they've actually gone on and graduated college. We've had the opportunity to help through other resources. When a youth moved into her college dorm, a sense of home came and decorated everything for her and provided furniture for her and her son. This was a youth who, you know, her mother had been killed, and that's why she entered the system. It was a random, unfortunate shooting, that she was at the wrong place at the wrong time. And this youth, you know, just amazingly went on to college, and we got to follow her through for several years. And it was just an honor to be able to see her blossom in this way, and we still stay in touch with her. There's so many youth that I wish all of them I could say I've gone to their graduations, but they're all such impressive young people that it's for me, it's an honor and a privilege to be able to work with them. They reach out when for good things, and unfortunately also when bad things have happened, they know that they can reach out to us, and we're there for them as well. Unfortunately, the most recent ones that come to mind are some sad situations, but I'm thankful that we've been able to be there to support our youth. We did have a youth whose child recently passed away due to SIDS, and that was a tragedy, but she knew that she could turn to us and rely on all the people on her team, and we were able to be there for her and help her during such a difficult time. So that yeah, they're all very dear to us, and it means a lot that we are able to work with them. That's it. I don't know any other ones that come to your mind, Christine. You probably remember some that I've shared with you.
I think you really summed it up beautifully. So
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think
when I think about perhaps some of the other things that our section has worked on very diligently is to, we are on the leadership team for the Los Angeles Reproductive Health Equity Program. They've been very involved in helping us to implement the SB 89 legislation, which of course makes reproductive health information and services, makes it important to have those services available to our youth. And so we've worked very diligently with them to create resources. We were one of the leaders in terms of starting a sexual health conversations training just to assist our staff in becoming more comfortable in talking about these types of services for youth. So there's an array of things that we've worked on to assist our DCFS youth, and even our young parents. We know that research indicates that most of our young parents didn't intend to become pregnant. So one of the focuses also of the EPY conferences is to make sure that they're connected to reproductive health services so that they can decide when and if they're ready to have a second child. So we want both the youth and the child or children to be successful in their lives.
I want to add something really important that I think happens during the EPYs, whether they're in person or even remotely now, is that they really are kind of working meetings. Whatever the issue is, we don't just say, oh, okay, you need housing. We tackle the problem right then and there. Okay, who are we linking you with? Here's the name, the phone number. Sometimes let's call that person right now together while we're all together and see what the next step is. If there's, just recently there was a youth who had been put on academic probation, and she wasn't eligible. And she thought for her financial aid, wasn't going to school, but she wanted to. We immediately reached out to the guardian scholar contact at the college, and via email link them together. And that issue is being worked on and resolved now. And she knows that she'll be able to start school back in January. And she said today, she just said, we are in constant contact, talking all the time. So other issues that come up, sometimes the youth will say, my Medi-Cal isn't working, or the baby's Medi-Cal isn't working. I was told it was deactivated. Whether it's the resource specialist or the facilitator, we all have contacts, special people that we go to depending on the situation, whether it's funding issues, because you're not getting your foster care funding. That's a huge issue, and it's a huge problem that needs to be resolved immediately. It means paying their rent. It means having food. It means being able to provide for their child. So rather than let it go the normal course of filling out this paperwork and giving it to the technical assistant. I mean, that piece is needed, but we have contacts that I will reach out to, for example, or my coworker Polly, that are internal contacts that know this is the population we're working with, and they will expedite resolving the problem for us. And right then and there, we're able to tell them, okay, this is what's happened. This problem has been fixed, or sometimes youth will say, I forgot to turn in my voucher. And, not that that's something we do often, because, they know that this is a special person that I don't want to just use for just anything, but our contact will resolve the problem. And Medi-Cal issues, for example, our resource specialists have a contact within their offices as well that have contacts to reach out to. So it's who you know. You got to know people when you're the facilitator or the resource specialist. And we just tackle the issue right then and there during the meeting with the youth. And I think they appreciate that. Things are getting done.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate you and all you're doing, and the fact that your policies and protocols are sort of written out and guide people through exactly what resources there are available. I know with the pandemic, people were moved around to different frontline or protective, tracking and tracing, and we lost some health staff, right? And but having these things documented, written out it really helps make sure that each young parent who's starting out their family does get a certain type of consistency, even amidst a pandemic. So you all are really doing amazing work. And thank you for all of the young people
you.
and their
Yeah.
children who you've been helping through this amazing practice. And we will say thank you and turn it back to the panelists here at the conference. So thank you so much, Anita and
Thank you.
Christine.
Thank
Our
you.
pleasure. Bye.